Welcome, everybody, to the last regular season college football day. Last day that we have a major slate of 11 games is what we have today. Probably going to be the last time we have a group that also the night slate and the late night slate. Um, about 5 minutes before game time. It's just been a wild year overall. And we've done a great job in chat, keeping everybody up to date of the news and things that change pretty rapidly throughout the day. Sometimes, especially on these major slates, when you have 22 teams playing, it gets a little cumbersome trying to figure out the news, but it pays off in the long run. So um, excited to dive into that today. If you haven't already, be sure to hop over to the website and grab a free trial. No better day than today to do that with everything that we have going on. Obviously, college football, all three slates. We have cheat sheets up for that, and all will be covered with core plays, skeleton lineups as we get closer to lock for each of those slates. We have college basketball. The early slate starts in about an hour for that. So we have some core plays up for that, a cheat sheet, and then the main slate for that later on today. Kenny and Chris have UFC covered later on today. They both have rankings, throw out some skeleton lineups as well. We've had some great success with that recently. And then EPL, obviously, that just locked at 10 o'clock, but we have cheat sheet up. You could do the showdowns later on today. There's still two more games that start here in a few hours. So we have everything covered. And then obviously in the free trial, you get NFL tomorrow. Chris has been crushing NFL. So I expect that again tomorrow. So be sure to hop in. You're going to get all that in the free trial. Just check us out, see what we're about. The Slack has been a major help for everybody. We kind of bounce ideas back and forth off each other. So be sure to join into that. I really hope we get some bowl slates after this. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. We've already seen teams opting out. Players have been opting out all year, and players opt out of bowl games in regular years anyway. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but I do know if we get some bowl slates, we're going to have a pretty big edge with all this news that is going to be breaking right up to the minute. So it's going to provide a very nice edge for all of us and everybody who's in chat, getting notifications and able to adjust lineups. So I really hope we get some of those. Obviously, the conference championship, I think they start next week. So that's going to be fun. See some of the best teams finally play each other more as we get closer to the end of this year. So what I'm going to do today is go game by game. I want you all to ask any questions that you have in the chat. I'll get to them either as we go, or I will grab them at the end if we get going on something. But I'll be sure to check chat as I'm going through these games. If you are a member, be sure to pull the cheat sheet up. I have some plays highlighted already on there, and just kind of follow along there. But I'm going to go game by game right on the cheat sheet, straight down the list, and kind of let you all know how I break down the slate, just from a macro perspective, and then dive into each game as well. So like I said, 11 games. It's going to be a hot and heavy news cycle, I'm sure, throughout the early afternoon and this morning. But let's go ahead and dive in. So on these big slates, what I try to do a lot is eliminate some of these games. I mean, we have some games that are totaled close to 70, or in the mid 60s at least. Why would we target some of these games we even have a couple that are low 40s pushing in the 30s? I'm just not targeting that when we have a bunch of fantasy goodness everywhere else. So I'll be Xing out some of these games, and you'll be able to see which one of those I'm doing as we go. So the first game we got Georgia, Missouri. Georgia's a 13.5 point favorite, 54.5 total. I'm not super excited about this game. It's definitely not one of my favorites. It's not one that I would probably X out if I was playing, say, 20 lineups. It is one that I'm going to X out for a cash game optimal build. Georgia would be the side to target in this game. JT Daniels is taking over at quarterback. They've looked a lot better on offense. They still look a little bit run heavy. I'm definitely not playing JT Daniels. I just don't like the overall stack here. You could if you were playing a bunch of lineups, because Missouri did get throttled last week on defense. So you could potentially do it. But if I'm going anywhere in this game, it's going to be Zamir White or Karis Jackson on the outside there. Zamir White, the tailback. Those are really the only two options, and they're GPP only in my eyes. But they could get there. Like I said, they're projected to score 34 points, so it's got to come from somewhere. Just not my favorite place to target. And if they do get ahead, they're going to be pounding the rock. And there is kind of a mixed backfield there sometimes with James Cook. They got 2 or 3 guys they do kind of mix in there. But Zamir White would be my favorite, and then maybe Karis Jackson and GPPs too. Next game, Michigan State, Penn State. Again, I'm not excited very much about either one of these first games. This is a 15-point favorite, Penn State, and only a 47-point total. In years past, we have seen these games kind of look very low scoring, maybe even trouble reaching the 20s on either side. I don't think these teams are as much of a defensive juggernaut as in years past, but I still don't love this spot. I am Xing out Michigan State. They are not going to be on my list. And really, there's only one guy for Penn State that I'm playing, and it's Jahan Dotson. And that's really only in GPPs at 6,500. I just don't think I can go anywhere else. That tailback situation has been kind of mixed all year. As when you look at Penn State, I've tried playing some of those guys early in the year, and it just did not work out. They mix and match in there. Kevon Lee, Devin Ford. Maybe I've seen some stuff. Maybe Kevon Lee is kind of questionable. If he's out, maybe you could go Devin Ford at sub 5K. It's just not a spot that I love. So Jahan Dotson is the target from Penn State. And really this game, if you're going there, is all that I'm going to go after in this Michigan State, Penn State game. So I will get into a few games that I do like here next. And you got Rutgers and Maryland. That would be one in years past you would definitely not think about even targeting. But Rutgers is a 6.5-point dog to Maryland, 58.5 total. Not my favorite game, but I think there are some pieces here and a potential GPP stack on both sides. So Talia Tagovailoa, Tua's brother, 7,100. He's flashed some upside this year in a few games. We tried playing him against Indiana, I think, and it didn't really work out. But Minnesota, he absolutely crushed. And I think he's getting some options back on the outside. Raheem Jarrett expected to be back. So you can pair him up with maybe a Dante Demas or Raheem Jarrett. Maybe Deshaun Jones. I've not seen for sure if he is in yet. I know he kind of burned us the last time we played him, and he was ruled out late. But watch for that news. If he's confirmed in, you could definitely match Talia up with him as well. But Demas and Jarrett would be my favorites. And this is, again, a GPP stack I'm not getting here in cash games again. There's just a bunch of other good spots. On the other side, Rutgers, Noah Vedral, he's very cheap, and I think you can pair him up in maybe a game stack. I'm not sure that I love doing it without anybody from the other side. But you could pair him up with Bo Melton, who's fairly expensive, or Shaheem Jones. in tournaments. So that's kind of the passing game that I like there. Um, Listen, Maryland has got trashed on the ground a lot this year. They actually rank 116th in rush defense this year, and the problem is with Rutgers, we see a little bit of a split with them as well. But if they kind of ride the hot hand, so Pacheco 4,500, and then Aaron Young is also 4,100. All three of these guys with Kayron Adams see a little bit of work, but my favorite's definitely Pacheco, 4,500. He is potentially cash game viable. There's some other guys that I like that are right around his price that I'll get to. One guy in particular, and a little bit above. So I'm not sure that I'm getting here. I'm run 3 running backs in cash games either. I just don't like the running back pool this week overall. So I'm not going to force in 3 running backs when we have a bunch of receivers that I like. And you can obviously pair some up with your quarterbacks and run them in game stacks. So I'm not in love with the running back pool, and I'm leaning toward paying toward that mid-range or this low range with Pacheco even at 4,500. So that's the Rutgers Maryland game for me. I see it as tournament stack viable, game stack overall. You could go Talia and Vedral and then match them up. It's not super expensive, so you can definitely do it and then still get up to some other top receiver plays on the slate. But not my favorite game, and I'll get to one of my favorite ones next. But it's definitely viable, and there's some pieces there that I like. So the next game is one that I really like this week, and that's Louisville and Wake Forest. It's a noon kickoff. Louisville is a 1.5 point favorite, and we got a 62 total. Not the highest total on the slate, but I see the potential that this game could just absolutely shoot out. We saw Wake Forest get into a big time back and forth with North Carolina a few weeks ago. Louisville has shown flashes on this offense of being able to go back and forth. So I'll start on the Wake Forest side as we have my favorite running back play of the week, and it's Christian Bill Smith. I'm going to call him CBS from now on. That's how I really like CBS this week. Walker he opted out. Kenneth Walker opted out. He was kind of the lead back for a long time for this Wake Forest team. But Bill Smith had been really getting a little bit of more work as the season went along. And he's probably going to get, or he is going to get the majority of the work today. Louisville's run defense is not great. And I think the workload that we have and this price for CBS at 6,600 is more than fair for this game. We have a major total. Wake likes to run it a little bit. They lean a little bit towards the run. 59% of their plays are a run play, and that's a big part of the Kenneth Walker and the CBS that we saw. So now without one of those going against the 88th ranked defense, and Louisville's not bad, not a bad pass defense. So I really like the workload we're getting here. So CBS is definitely my favorite play in this game and running back play of the week, point per dollar. In the passing game, I'm not in love with it, but you can definitely do a matchup of maybe a Sam Hartman with Jaquiri Robertson and Donovan Green. Robertson is my favorite of those two. And if you're playing CBS, I kind of want to talk about how I go about doing stacks. I'm never going to play like a Sam Hartman and a CBS and a Robertson and a Green. It's going to be 3 of the 4 max of those guys. So if I'm playing CBS, I'm only playing 1 receiver. If I'm not playing CBS, you could potentially go 2 receivers with Green and Robertson, but I'm not in love with that because Sam Hartman, he does like to run a little bit. So if he's going to pay off in a big time up and down game, I think you're not pairing two of these guys together. You're kind of going to favor the run game more, and maybe one of these receivers. So the other side, Louisville, Michael Cunningham has major upside. He's one of my favorite GPP plays of the week. You can run him in cash. I just think there's some other lower price guys that are a little bit safer as far as what they allow the rest of your lineup to do in cash. So I wrote my core plays article earlier this week, and I'm like, I love these top guys. But the more that I look at it for an optimal, just a cash build, I don't think I'm actually going to get up here. I'll get to the guy that will be the highest price quarterback that I'm playing in cash games. But GPPs, Malik Cunningham, man, he is got some major upside. We saw on the ground that Cunningham has just trashed some of these teams. So GPPs, I think with Tutu Atwell, his top receiver has opted out this past week. So he's got Dez Fitzpatrick. Man, he has crushed the last two games already with Tutu in. So I think he's definitely the number one target at a fair price of below $6K. And then Braden Smith is my second favorite guy, 3,500. He's a value play for you. Definitely cash game viable. Both of those receivers are cash game viable. It's kind of tough to play both of them together in a cash game, but I think you go one or the other. Whatever fits your build. I really like both of them. And in GPPs, you can pair Cunningham with Fitzpatrick and Smith. Even though Cunningham if he's going to hit his upside, he's going to do a lot on the ground. I think you can still pair them two up with him because of their prices. Braden Smith's at mid 3Ks and Dez Fitzpatrick below 6. That's very cheap for a high-powered offense in flashes this year and going up against Wake's defense. I really like this game. I would lean the Louisville side more for the passing game, CBS more for the run game on that Wake Forest side. But one of my favorite games of the week overall for sure. Heading down the list, I'm going to keep it going. Bama, Arkansas. Man, Bama favored by 32 points this morning, 68.5 total. That projects them for 50 points on the year. Just absolutely crazy what this offense has been doing. Wow. I don't even know what to say, what they've been doing. It's just crazy. Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith. Here's my thing with Alabama this week against Arkansas. They're going to put up the points. They're going to probably pull everybody near halftime. They're going to blow Arkansas out. They have Florida next week in the SEC championship game. They're not risking Devontae Smith, Najee Harris especially, and Mac Jones late into this game if they get to blowing out. Where they become viable is GPPs. I'm not playing any of them in cash. If you can get up to one of the two, go for it. I can't get up to them in the bills that I'm playing around with. So I'm going to fade them in cash. They could burn you. Najee Harris could have 4 touchdowns at halftime. It's definitely viable. But I do worry a little bit about this blowout and what they have coming up next week, that they're not going to push these guys into the ground. And none of them cheap. They're all 3 above 9K, 95 for Mac Jones, 92 Najee Harris, 10K for Devontae Smith. Absolutely crazy prices. Great matchup, but I don't see them playing the whole game. So if you can get up to them, GPPs, take a little sprinkle of them. Maybe my favorite look in this game is John Mechie, 5,500, is a guy that we've kind of played a little bit after Jalen Waddle went down, and we saw this uptick in this Bama passing offense to Devontae Smith. We also saw an uptick for Mechie, so he's 5,500. I could see him playing a little more in this game, but If the other guys take a couple early touchdowns, he could run into the same problem, but he's half their prices. So you can go John Mechie, especially in tournaments. There was one other guy for Bama. Jaleel Billingsley is 4,800. You could go there as well. Not my favorite, probably the least favorite out of those guys. But if you're going GPPs and you are playing some Bama pieces, you can do worse than Billingsley. 4,800. They're going to put up points. Maybe he gets involved in that a little bit. So that's where I'm at with Bama. Not playing anyone from the other side. From Arkansas, we've played a little bit of them this year, but I'm not going anywhere with Arkansas today. Under 20 projected points, they're going to get blown out. I don't love them at all. So the next game we have Navy and Army. Usually this is the Army-Navy game is more of a standalone game. But the way the schedule worked out this year, they're on this final regular season slate. That's as much as I'm going to say about this game because I don't like it at all. The only potential play is the quarterback for Army because Navy has looked so bad. I'm blanking on a name. Where are we at? Army, I think it's Tahir Tyler. You could go for him. He's fairly cheap, 5,800. Just remember, both of these teams are triple options. We have a 37.5 total. I'm not going there. X out this game and move on. So Coastal Carolina, Troy, 13.5 point favorites for the Chanticleers. I know we have a member who is an alumni of Coastal Carolina. He was very excited last week when they took down BYU, put them on the map a little bit. 13.5 point favorites, 51.5 total. Troy, I'm not looking their way at all with all these other spots that we have. And then on the other side, Coastal Carolina, I'm not in love with them. There's three guys you could potentially play. Grayson McCall and GPP. All these are GPP plays. CJ Marable, 8,400 is a pretty steep price. He gets a fairly good matchup. So he would probably be my favorite out of all three of these guys. And then Javon Hiley, 6,000. I'm just not. I don't see that they are going to just put up loads of points in this game. They're going to get in the mid-20s at least, I would think, win this game fairly handily. But I don't see a major blow-up spot for any of these specific players on this team. So I'm just kind of reserving them for GPPs. So we can move on. We got 4 games to go, and then I'll get to any questions. I've not even looked at chat. That's how I get in some of these live shows. Sometimes I just don't even look at chat because I'm so into the game. So drop them in there. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, Chris, I'm wearing the Virginia Tech jersey. Michael Vick jersey. I would turn around, but it is a Michael Vick jersey. The reason that I started liking Virginia Tech, I went to Virginia Tech, and we got a big game tonight with UVA. So that's on the night slate. So I'm sure we'll talk about that. It's a fairly big total. Not sure what to make of my Hokies, though. So we'll get to that tonight for sure. But had to rep them on a rivalry game day with Virginia. So be sure to join in tonight if you want to hear a breakdown and an unbiased breakdown, because I'm not happy with the direction of the program right now. North Carolina, Miami. So kind of the trend we've had today is I'm in love with these ACC games. Maybe that translates to tonight as well. But North Carolina, Miami, the highest total on the slate, 69.5. Miami's a 3-point favorite against the Tar Heels. Both these teams projected to get in the 30s as far as points. So this is a major blow-up spot. I expect it to be fairly popular, but the prices are not super advantageous as far as a full-on cash game build and an optimal build. So I could see it going a touch under-owned as far as just a full-on game stack. So that's where I like in GPPs is just mixing both of these sides, going 5 guys from this game or something in your lineup. and getting exposure to that. But you can definitely go here for cash games as well. On the Carolina side, they have tons of pieces that we like to target. Sam Howell is priced pretty high, and he's not shown a lot of rushing upside this year. He showed some last year, but not in 2020. I would reserve him for GPPs for sure. And in those GPPs, you can pair him with some of these weapons that he has. Daz Newsome was a favorite all year when he was priced so low and he was not doing anything. But he's came on a lot. He runs out of the slot. He gets a lot of those dink and dunk passes. But last year, he had tons of big plays along with De'Ami Brown, who they're both in the 6K range, which is way too cheap. So you can take one of these guys in cash games for sure. You can, if you're playing Howe, you at least want one of these guys with him. And if you're playing Howe, I think you can definitely play both of these guys with him. If you're only playing one, think about getting exposure to that backfield. They've slowed down a little bit, but they've also got price back down to reasonable, right around the 7K mark for both Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. Both get mixed in the passing game a little bit as well. Javonte, 305 receiving yards on the year. Carter, 258. Both have 2 and 3 touchdowns receiving on the year, so they both get mixed in. Miami, I think we're going to see a major shootout here. So those are the 5 guys for North Carolina that I would want exposure to. Sam Howell, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, and then on the receiving end, Daz Newsome and De'Ami Brown. For sure, my favorites. Then on the Miami side, the backfield is an X for me. I just can't do it with, even though North Carolina's got gashed sometimes on the ground this year. I'm not playing Cameron Harris this year. I don't like the way that they mix and match, and I don't like how Cameron Harris has really looked. So and also he gets vultured a little bit by the quarterback, De'Aaron King. So if I'm going somewhere for Miami, and I am, it's De'Aaron King and these receivers. Man, oh man, he's got some options, and it's hard to kind of pinpoint some of these guys sometimes. But if you're playing GPPs, and this as a stack is probably more of a full-on GPP, you can take 2 of these guys, but you don't need 2 of them because if De'Aaron King's going to hit his upside at above 9K, you're going to need some rushing touchdowns probably from him, and he's probably going to give it to you. But there's kind of 4 guys here that I would put in my player pool. Mike Harley, the Harley Davidson. We had some talks about him a few weeks back earlier this year. He was not priced above 7K. Now he is. He's the big play threat for Miami. And then Brevin Jordan would be, those are kind of 1-2 point per dollar. I like them about equally. Brevin Jordan's the tight end, 5K. He missed some time this year, but he's played 6 games, 24 for 340 and 4. I really like Brevin Jordan. So you could pair both of those with the Eric King, go the more expensive route. D. Wiggins and Mark Pope, 46 and 4,000 are the cheaper options that you could go. Will Mallory he's not going to be an option for me. He was definitely an option when Brevin Jordan was out. Mallory's the number 2 tight end. So the top 2, Harley and Jordan, and then Wiggins and Pope would be the next 2, with the top 2 having a clear favorite in my eyes. So you do something like a Sam Howell, De'Ami Brown, Daz Newsome. On the other side, it's going to be tough to fit, like I said, with these prices. But the other side, you can go De'Aaron King and then maybe pair him with one of those receivers, maybe a Brevin Jordan or a Harley, and do a full-on game stack. Like I was saying, get 5 guys from this game. I really like it to shoot out. I mean, right at a 70 total. That's just crazy. We see that a lot in college football, but definitely that's where I'm going. One of my favorite games of the week right there, both sides of it. So Wisconsin, Iowa, we go from a 69.5 total to a 41.5 total. And guess what? it's X'd out for me. So I'm not even going to say anything more about it. The last two games we have, there's options on both sides that I really like. So cash games, I think my two cash game quarterbacks are actually going to be in these last two games. So Houston, Clayton Tune has shown some rushing upside, 7,800, a little bit of a price discount off those top guys. So Clayton Tune in a 63 total as a 5-point favorite against Memphis. I will be going to Clayton Tune for sure in cash games. I like that rushing upside that he's shown. And then in the backfield, you can definitely take a shot at these guys. It's not my favorite. I love the passing game, and I'm not in love with this other with the backfield. But Kyle Porter is questionable, and Mulbacar is expected to play after practicing this week. So if Porter is out, and I've not saw any news this morning, so I'll be getting on that as soon as we get off the show. But Mulbacar 4,200 is definitely viable. I've got burned by him in years past playing him, but Mulbacar is another guy that I was mentioning in that low 4K range that I really like. And then the passing game. Oh, wow. I love this passing game. Like I said, Clayton Tune, he is expected, I believe, to get back his top target and my favorite receiver play of the week this week. Marquez Stevenson. Love him. He has major blow-up potential, and I think he blows up here against Memphis. I think we see a big back-and-forth game here as well. One of my favorite games. And then Keith Corbin, Nathaniel Dale, and Traven Bradley are all viable as well. Stevenson, the clear-cut number one for me. If you're pairing two guys with him, I think I would actually go Nathaniel Dale. So he's 4,300, so he gives you some price relief. And then I think Keith Corbin would be third, and then Traven Bradley fourth. You can definitely play two of these guys with Clayton Tune. Not if you're playing the running back. Not if you're playing Mulbacar. Play only one of these receivers. Don't go four guys from Houston. But I think you can definitely go a Tune, Stevenson, Dale stack, or a Tune, Carr, Stevenson stack. That would be my two favorite ways to go for sure. Stevenson is a top overall play for me, 7,500. I think he can just absolutely crush today. On the other side of this game, we have Brady White, who is 8,600. I'm not in love with that price, but if you're doing a game stack, you can go there for. And then in the Memphis backfield, there's a little bit of news. Asa Martin and Kylan Watkins. These are two more guys that I was saying below 5K that I like. My favorite in GPPs would be Kylan Watkins. They have kind of went away from him. Maybe without Clark, they get back to a little bit of Kylan Watkins. I don't know if we'll have any news on that, but if Clark is out, you can play Watkins. If he's not, I think you can still play Asa Martin, but I'm not in love with the backfield really at all if Clark is in. So that's some news to watch. On the outside, Coxie opted out earlier this year, and it kind of opened up spots for a lot of these Memphis receivers, and we've saw some of them really step up. In particular, Calvin Austin, 7,900. He's another top receiver play, and the reason that I don't like Devontae Smith a ton is because I think these guys can get close to his production even if he goes completely off. I mean, I think Stevenson and Calvin Austin can both get up over 150 and a touchdown or two. So at least. So Calvin Austin would be my favorite, but he is fairly high priced, 7,900. He's very high priced. Sean Dykes is the tight end. He's also been very good. 5,700 for him gives you a little salary relief. And then Taj Washington, 5,100. So I like all three of those guys. Calvin, if you can pay up, definitely go for it. Dykes and Washington are the next two. I don't. It's hard to pick between those two. Probably, if that 600 price difference matters in your lineups, take whichever one you need. In a deep GPP, you could go Javon Ivory. I know there was a game earlier this year that I played Memphis. I think it was in the UCF game. Ivory kind of got in the end zone, had some looks from Brady White, so he's clear below all three of the other guys, but he is 3,300, so you can mix and match him as well. So that's that game. I really like that game at a 63-point total. And then the last game is kind of a one-sided look for me, Florida State and Duke. This is kind of a scary spot, but both these defenses have not been very good. So I think we could kind of see decent amount of scoring here. 57 total. Florida State is actually favored by 4, projected for 30 points. I don't like the Duke side at all. They will be X'd for me. But Florida State, this is probably my number 2 cash game quarterback is Jordan Travis. He's missed some time in and out, so I'm not sure if we get a specific word, but he is fully expected to play, and he has tons of rushing upside. They've been off for a few weeks. So if you have forgotten about Jordan Travis, he has 472 rushing yards on the year. 12 for 67 is his average on the ground. He's not a great passer, but I really like the running game for Florida State overall. So Jordan Travis, and then I think in cash games too, you could play Jashawn Corbin at 5,500. He's another one of my favorite running back plays of the week. And I don't hate pairing both of those together because I think Florida State can mash Duke on the ground. And I think that's what they will try to do because, listen, Jordan Travis is not a good thrower. And here's where if you're going to stack up Florida State in tournaments or cash games, the only cash game route I think is playing Corbin and Travis. I don't think you can play a receiver from Florida State in cash, but in GPPs, if you are going to go that route, I think you play Entree. I just botched that name, but I think he's 5,500. He is the top option for Jordan Travis. So if playing Jordan Travis in GPPs, I would only play one of Antria Wilson and Jashawn Corbin. I would not go a 3-man Florida State stack. Limit that to 2, and that's kind of where I am looking. So I know I just covered a ton. Let's see if there was any questions in the chat. Ryan says, LOL, Arkansas. Yeah, that's I'm not on Arkansas at all today. They could put up some points kind of playing from behind, but I don't even think they can score much against Bama's second-team defense. So that's where I'm at. If there's not any more questions, I will have my skeleton lineup posted. I will probably, I'm not sure. I've not fully built yet, but if I will have a cash game and a GPP, I'll have a cash game and a GPP skeleton because I like some of those games like the Louisville game and then all the ACC games today. I'm just in love with the ACC. Louisville, Wake Forest, Miami, North Carolina, Florida State. Love all those teams today. So I'll definitely put together a GPP skeleton, probably a game stack of either the Miami game or the Wake Forest game. So that's where I'm at. If there's no questions, I'm going to hop on off of here. We got about an hour and 20 minutes till lock. Be sure, again, join. There's a link in the chat to join RotoPros. We have a free trial you can get this week and next week. And Chris put this code RP50, 50% off your first payment after the free trial. So there's absolutely no reason not to take the free trial. See what we got going on this weekend. Like I said, tons of sports covered by all of our team. There's tons coming up with NBA. NHL will be back. we have tons going on, and then tomorrow as well with EPL, NFL, college basketball. Just join in, give us a shot. It's free, and then you can take that code RP50 and get 50% off after the free trial. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to jump off here. I'll be in the chat updating everybody on news that breaks. And good luck to everybody, and go Hokies tonight.